Hello class, my name is Mr. Fleming and I will be giving you some instruction today. We're all educators in this class, so we're always looking for better ways to prepare ourselves and our students for the subject that we teach them. So that's what this is today. It's basically another tool that we can incorporate that's going to make us better teachers and get the most out of our students. And this is going to focus on the intelligences. So if you haven't heard the word today, I know you've always heard the word intelligence. This is a continuation of that. So, people have different strengths and they have different intelligences. Human potential, it can be tied to one's preferences to learning. And people have a unique blend of capabilities and skills. Those capabilities and skills are your intelligences. Many of us as educators, we're familiar with the three general categories in which people learn. So you have your visual learners, you have your auditory learners, and you have your kinesthetic learners. But beyond these three general categories, many theories and approaches towards human potentials, they've been developed through the years. And we're going to discuss the work by one specific individual today. So I'll be teaching about the theory of multiple intelligences. And this is a theory that was developed by a gentleman by the name of Howard Gardner, who's a PhD, a professor of education at Harvard University. And he fully believes that in life we need people who collectively are good at different things. So we all know this. We have to have all different types of fields, and people are better suited than others for those particular fields. And that's what this is discussing. So Gardner's multiple intelligence theories can be used, luckily for educators, to develop your curriculum, to plan your instruction, the selection of course activities you're going to use with your students, and also related assessment strategies. So today, with these intelligences, they have 9 intelligences. And there's always the possibility there's going to be more that'll be added to the list later, but we have 9 right now. So we need to look at this as a way to get better at as a teacher. That's why it's really good what we're learning in this class right now, different avenues of approach as educators. So Mr. Gardner, he began his work in psychology, and he later did work in human cognition, and he studied human potential. And he will actually come up with the first 6 intelligences of the 9 intelligences that we have today. So today we're going to discuss some of these intelligences and see what it's all about and see how it can actually help us as educators. Today we have a lot of tools out there. We have the internet. We still have books that we use, but we have so much on the internet and so many opportunities to improve ourselves as teachers and improve how we teach the students as individuals. Because we all know if you have a class, 25 students, every single one of those students are going to need something different to get the most out of their education. And I think this particular subject is going to help us with that. So this is going to be instruction which is designed to help students develop their strengths and trigger their confidence to develop areas in which they're not as strong. So you always try to make them better at what they're good at, but then if you do this and you apply it, it will actually, you can use it to get them better in the areas where they maybe need some help. So that's what we're going to discuss. It's going to be just an overview about these different types of intelligences. The first one we're going to talk about is going to be linguistic intelligence. It's something we have to use every day. And when you look at the word linguistics, it's going to be about words and language. And so it's going to be about the spoken word, the written word, being able to explain ideas and information with language, understand relationships between communications. And it's applied in a lot of different jobs. You've got copywriters, editors, historians, journalists, lawyers, of course, teachers and educators. We have to use this linguistics intelligence. And we do it every day. The other one's going to be logical, mathematical intelligence. And again, logic and numbers. And we know as educators, this applies to us as well. You have your math teachers, you have analysts, you have public accountants, engineers, scientists, people that do statistics, and they're going to have to be good with numbers. You also have musical intelligence, music, sound, rhythm, and it's people that have an appreciation and are able to use sound and sound recognition and tonal and rhythmic patterns to understand relationships between sound and feeling. And again, teachers are going to fall in this category as well. I mean, you have acoustical engineers, DJs, entertainers, musical performers, but we know that as teachers that we have band directors, choral directors, so this is another one of those intelligences that we can absolutely apply. The next is bodily kinesthetic intelligence. So it's a little different, but it's about body movement control. You know, eye and body coordination, like what you might see in an athlete, having dexterity, physical agility, having balance. And it may surprise you to think about it like this, but even an anthropologist or archaeologist, they have to be able to have this intelligence. It's something they're going to use every day, just like a surgeon. He's got to be good with his hands. A runner has to have good legs. Another intelligence is the spatial visual intelligence, which is the spatial visual images in space. And you have to be able to interpret and create visual images. And you have to understand relationships between images and what the meanings are between the space and effect of that. And again, you have architects, you have cartographers, city planners, sculptors, people that are in the arts that are able to use this. Another one is interpersonal intelligence. Now, you have interpersonal and you have intrapersonal. For the interpersonal, you know, you're worrying about other people's feelings. You have to have the ability to relate to others, which again fall into our field as educators. We have to be able to relate to students and to other educators. And you have to be able to interpret behavior and communication, which we have to do on a daily basis. You also, you know, you can have caregivers, a coach or a mentor has to be able to have this intelligence. And again, when you look at each of these, it's, you know, it's setting up these patterns because we're all good in some things and may not be good at the other. And it's the same way for our students. We also have the intrapersonal intelligence, and that's being able to have self-awareness, know what your own needs are, personal cognizance, personal objectivity, and the capability to understand oneself. And this is something that we all use. So all of these intelligences, and again, there's 9. We've just discussed 7, but there's 9 of these intelligences. But the bottom line, when you address these multiple intelligences, you get more potential from your students because it helps the instructors personalize their instructions and methods of assessment to each individual student. And Mr. Gardner himself, he asserts that educators should not follow one specific theory of these intelligences when you design instruction, but instead you should employ customized goals to each individual student and values that are appropriate to their teaching and the student needs. So we have some great information here on our website here at Florida Southern College. You can go online, you can take your own self-assessment, or it's something you can print out and give to your students and assess where they're at and see these different lists of intelligences where you may be able to help them in different ways to strengthen them in the areas they're strong, but then, you know, it helps them get into the other areas where they're weak, and it just makes them better students, and it makes us better educators. And we also have information on our website that also you can look and compare this theory, because it is a theory, and compare it to other theories about intelligence and see what you think about it personally. But the main thing to know about educators is that we can really use this to develop our curriculum. It helps us to plan that instruction. It helps us with our course activities, and again with assessments, because some of these students that we have, they have a hard time taking a written test. Some students have a hard time reading out of a book where they would want to see it. They're a visual learner and they want to see it through a PowerPoint, or they may want to see it through a video, or they may want to listen to it, auditory learners. But we as educators need to make sure that we try to incorporate all of the available tools that we have, and this is another tool. So multiple intelligences, it's a great thing. It will only help you as an educator. It will only help you when dealing with your students. Because again, teachers, we go in the class every day and we know that some students we have to really focus different avenues of study and in preparation for certain students. So I think this would be a great thing for us all to use. Give your students these assessments, have them check it out, see how they grade out on it, and you can see where you may need a little bit more help, or where that student may need more help with a certain area when it comes to intelligence. So I hope you've all learned something through this today. Again, there's tons of information on the internet. You can look it up on multiple intelligences. You can go to the Florida Southern website right here for our EDU 1107 class. Professor has things posted on there for us to look at, and take the time, look at it, and be a better teacher and provide your students other avenues of approach in some of these areas where they may be having difficulty. I thank you for your time, and I hope you have a wonderful day.